And today we've been going through the series, Worthwhile Life in Impossible Situations. And you've heard several topics on it. You've heard just recently from Eric about the Judaizers and religion and faith. Then you've heard from Nikita and goals. And you've heard from many others, perseverance, circumcision, which she defined as covenant, which is very appropriate, pride, and many others. And so today I'm going to talk about unity. And just for a practical use, I'm going to take 30 minutes longer than what you guys are used to, so that way you can be unified in the very thought that you want to get out of here. So we're starting off in the next part of it, moving on to the last chapter of Philippians. And we're going through verses 1 through 5, and I'm going to start off with just 1 through 3. So therefore, my brothers and sisters, you whom I love and long for, my joy and crown, stand firm in the Lord in this way, dear friends. I plead with Euodia and I plead with Syntyche to be of the same mind in the Lord. Yes, I ask of you, my true companion, help these women since they have contended at my side in the cause of the gospel, along with Clement and the rest of my co-workers, whose names are in the book of life. Here, Paul is asking that these two women, both Euodia and Cynthia, they're having a disagreement of some kind. And so he's asking that they be unified. But what kind of unity is he looking for? That's the question that we're going to ask. And basically, he takes this example of these two people. A perfect biblical dramatic catfight, basically Judge Judy going through here, and brings in a third party, asking them to kind of help them get along. And so I have 4 ways that you can approach unity. And so the first one, and I got a little too carried away, is being opposed to unity. And Thomas Hobbes probably puts it the best way in imagery in his book Leviathan, which is the first picture over on the right. That he was mainly aiming at the unity that a government brings. But still, he says that when you're opposing unity, life can be expected of this. It is nasty, poor, short, brutish, and solitary. Solitary is the very thing that comes about if you oppose unity. You're enemies. You're isolated from one another, separated by anger, fear, and pain. And it forces you to live a life like a hermit. And then the next one is forced unity. This is most represented in our context as neighborhood covenants. And here, you want something at a very basic level. And so you're forced to have a unity that's superficial. And here, you have your choice of colors picked out for you. And if it doesn't match what your desire, something deeper and more to you, you oppose it. Here, Machiavelli was a huge advocate for this kind of thing. And he was always for that those that help you, bring you closer to your goals, your visions, you should have them alongside of you and help you. Yet, even Machiavelli did not, under this thing, did not prosper. He was once a king, and at one point a huge revolt from his own people arose, dethroned him, and sent him off into captivity. And also here, Israel faced the same thing. In 70 AD, they were finally destroyed. This is several years, only a couple of years after Paul wrote this letter to the Philippians. And Israel had lost the war, had lost the revolt to Rome, the ones that forced a unity on Israel. And their town, Jerusalem, was destroyed. Their hallmark, the temple, was left leveled. So it brings us, so this also was not the unity that Paul was wanting. So it brings us to another one, accepted unity. This is friends holding this unity very closely. You have the same desires, wants, wishes, and yet even here there can be opposition. Here, I was actually in this one for earlier on in my life when I was just starting off in ministry, about 5 years ago. And I had a friend who really, really liked the New Testament, thought the Old Testament was fairly irrelevant. And I really enjoy Old Testament, but also knowing that the New Testament needs to hold its weight. But I enjoy reading books like Deuteronomy and Numbers. I don't know why, but I do. So if you can't get through it, you can just hand it to me and I'll read it. But yet, even here, he would attack me on certain issues, and it strained our unity. It strained our ability to work together. But also here, which was probably what happened, roughly the same kind of unity that Yudia and Cynthia had. It's only suspected that they had a unity based off of that was in disagreement, based off of a mode of doing something in the cause of the gospel. But yet, these three, opposed, forced, accepted, are not what Paul was asking for. He never said they should be unified. He uses the word be unified in the Lord, in Christ. And this brings us to the last one, unity in Christ. This is the very unity Paul was arguing for. And it's unity not based solely on status, regulations, point of view, circumstances, but yet it's a positional unity. It's a unity that you have in faith in Christ that you can have with other believers. It isn't that you get a new mind, new thoughts, and you're a clone of another person. Yet it's something much more than that. Unity that me and Erin can have, where she likes to deface her Converse shoes and drinks coffee at midnight. And yet I enjoy my shoes, and I'd rather they stay perfect. I just don't like coffee. But this unity that we have is in Christ. That we can accept each other's differences and be able to go, this is what you are, and in Christ you are perfect. And here, I can say, in Christ is a worthwhile life in impossible situations. In Christ, there's joy. In Christ, there's peace. In Christ, there's true unity. And in Christ, there's endurance and true religion. It's not works-based, not what you do, but it's faith-based. And here, which continues on what Paul wants to say, is that rejoicing in the Lord. And then let your gentleness, because you know that you're unified because of in Christ, be evident to all people, for the Lord is near. And so, here, whether you find yourself opposed to unity,